How's it going, my truant people? Dr. Slacking, the Slacking Doctor, back with a different kind of video today. This one, I want you to think of it more as like a think piece, as a discussion piece than anything else. I actively encourage you to comment down below your opinions. Please be civilized and we will have a good conversation about this. So, if you're new around here, please do consider subscribing and joining our subscriber Discord, link down in the description. We're back on that YouTube grind right now. Thank you to everyone who was supporting before, and I apologize for my brief absence over the past month or so. But we're back on it. Now, the title of this video is likely to be something along the lines of why we might need to ban heavy duty boots. Perhaps a good subtitle for that would be something like, or why at least we should be talking about it, because that's really what I want to do in this video. I wanted to start an open and good discussion, because I have a minor problem with the way this discussion is being handled right now. What I'm seeing a lot on Twitter, a lot on Discord, a lot from the community, and from people that I respect and admire. Like, I'm not trying to call anybody out. A lot of people that I actually am very close to are kind of acting this way about it, is that the people that are complaining about heavy duty boots are complaining about it, and that they're kind of like whining crybabies or whatever, or that, like, you know, you've messed with our Pokemon game and now I want to cry. It was better the old way, Gen 1er type attitude. I think that actually that kind of dismissive attitude is more immature in a sense, and that there is a really good conversation to be had here, and that we should have it, and that we should entertain it. Now, that requires both sides to be mature about it. I appreciate that. I'm not saying that only one side has to be. So let's do it. Let's get into this. So what I've got here to begin with is the Pokemon that I could think of in OU that were immediately, like, over the course of the generation, and I haven't played a ton of OU, but the bit I have played, that have ran boots very successfully. So we've had Mandibuzz with the heavy duty boots, like Defog, U-Turn, those kind of sets. Very, very good defogger with heavy duty boots. Unbelievably good defog with heavy duty boots. We've seen Blissey actually overtake Chansey for the first time since a Violite was invented, because it is able to run boots, take nothing from hazards, and teleport out. If for some reason you don't know what heavy duty boots is, heavy duty boots is the item that means that you take no damage from hazards, so rocks, spikes, T-spikes, or sticky web, not just damage but no effect from hazards. So we've seen, like, you know, teleport Blissey and stuff, and then speaking of teleport, we've seen Regenerate, teleport Slowking and Slowbro. And then lastly, we've seen Zeraora with the heavy duty boots. So I'm sure there are others, and I'm sure, you know, like Talonflame, Volcarona would be two other really great examples, but these were important for the conversation, so I've highlighted these. So the gut reaction I'm seeing from a lot of more experienced players is that they think people that want to ban boots are somehow like, I can't break through a fat core. I hate that regen plus boots means I get no damage off on Slowbro, Slowking, whatever. It's too powerful, we need to ban it. I hate fat, I hate stall. Which I agree. I don't like people that hate stall. I think that it's a perfectly valid part of our competitive game. However, we have seen it on other mons like Zeraora and stuff, which have been offensive revenge killers, where they're just able to come in multiple times to revenge kill with their boots, taking no chip from hazards. I think that the argument, you know, we just got to knock off, man. You just got to bring your, I don't know, you just got to bring your knockoff grass type to get rid of Mandibuzz's boots. So you just bring Rillaboom with knockoff. I didn't mean to click the scarf, it doesn't really matter. You just gotta bring Rillaboom, then you can knock off Mandibuzz's boots, and then it's easy, bro. That's how you do it, bro. It's so easy, bro. Like, sure, that's valid. I do worry that Mega Stones and Z moves could come back in future generations of Pokemon, if not this one, along with heavy duty boots, in which case knockoff will no longer be the best move in the game like it is right now. It would still be very good, and I still support that. And I do agree that you can create team archetypes that will enable a knockoff. Now, I do think that's valid. However, something like Zeraora, for example, it's a lot harder to actually bait these offensive mons with a knockoff, because generally when something like Zeraora comes in, it's coming in to take a KO, it's coming in to revenge kill. So actually what you'll find a lot of the time is that it's really things like, in the past gens it used to be like Mega Lopunny, you'd run Rocky Helmet to try and get chip off on Mega Lopunny. It's very hard to get chip off on these Pokemon because they're so fast and they hit so hard, and they only really come in when they're taking a, like, claiming a mon. So it's harder to knock them off. Now, just because it's harder doesn't mean it should be banned. I agree, so stay with me here. And I'm not saying, I should say as well at this point, I am by no means saying that heavy duty boots should be banned. I'm saying that there should be a good dialogue around it. So the other tab that I have open up here is this video from BKC. I would highly recommend you check this out. He He probably speaks much more eloquently on competitive Pokemon-based things than I do. But this video has nothing to do with Boots from his perspective. This was just a video he uploaded, Pokemon's greatest battles, and this was a great ORAS game between Blunder and CBB. Two very good players. Now, the reason I highlight this is I watched this the other day, and it really fed into these thoughts I've been having regarding Boots when I was watching it. So, during this game, CBB wants to try and sweep with his Volcarona, right? This is pre-Boots, remember, so this is ORAS. He does not have Boots on his Volcarona. So he needs to keep his Defogger around, potentially, and he needs to get Chip off, and I believe it is the Jellicent. I think he has Hidden Power Ground, so he can get Chip off on... he doesn't need to get Chip off on the Heatran. It doesn't have Giga Drain, though, for the Jellicent, I think, and I could be wrong. So he has a team that's able to do something about that. I think he has Toxic on his Keldeo that's able to wear down Jellicent potentially. He has ways to, and he has, you know, a physical Steel type as well as a Water Steel type. So he has 3 ways on this team that you would say are very good at luring in a Pokemon like Jellicent, right? We've all built teams and we can say, all right, well, look, I need to get rid of a Water type for this to sweep. Here's 3 ways we bring in and break Water type. So there's nothing wrong with his team building here. It's not a case of, well, you just got to run knockoff on your Rillaboom, bro, right? He's got a good build. However, his opponent is also highly skilled and knows, I'm not going to give you Chip on this Jellicent. Now, I might have been wrong. It might have been Heatran. I'm sure we could do the same by just saying Superior and other things pressure Heatran. That's not the point right now. The point is, in the actual game, the way that he tries to pressure the one thing that's going to stop his setup sweeper is with Stealth Rock. So he tries to make plays that will bring in, let's say it is the Jellicent, that will bring in the Jellicent, take a turn of Rock's Chip on it, then he'll switch out, then he'll bring the Jellicent back in, take another turn of Rock's Chip, and he never lets the Jellicent recover. He's trying to keep board positioning in his favor, and he's trying to use the board to win him the game. Board control, hazard control, right? This to me is a core mechanic of Pokemon. Now, a core mechanic of any game can be broken and can need nerfing, and what you might say is that hazards were previously oppressive and they were so good that we needed heavy duty boots to nerf them, and we needed all those ones to get defog last generation to nerf hazards. I am not sure if that's true, and that's the kind of conversation that we need to have. What we need to be discussing is not, wow, I can't break through fat, so I don't like boots. Or, you just can't break through fat, you baby, you don't like boots. What we need to be having is a conversation of, were hazards oppressive, or were hazards actually really healthy for this game? So I think that this game is a fantastic example of where having hazards as one of our mechanics created an even more, like, long-term strategic, thought-provoking game. This game, and there are different ways that Pokemon's played. So if you were a league like the WBE, for example, that E standing for entertainment, you treat Pokemon, in my opinion, and I'm not A-Drive, I'm not, Pokegame, I don't know for sure, but in my opinion, the core purpose of the WBE is entertainment. They are like a spectator sport. But if you are Smogon, I don't think Smogon exists to create a spectator sport. I think Smogon exists to create a competitive sport. And those two are arguably different things. So what I would say here is that I think that the hazards in this game created, maybe it's more boring if you're a casual fan, or there's too much switching, there's too much fighting for positioning, but it created a game where these two people had to think so far ahead, and where they had to think so carefully about everything that was happening, that the effects on the field, we have things like terrains now and stuff. There is so much going on in Pokemon, so many mechanics, that creates this highly complex, highly skilled game where you have to think about a lot of factors. And the core root of this game, contrary to some of the comments you'll see on Draft League games and competitive games where you switch too much, it's boring. The core of this game is switching, right? That's what Pokemon is. Pokemon is switching well. Switching at the right times, not switching at the right times. Hazards were the one way we had to pressure switching. If you knew to that, you remove one of the things that I think was so essential to why we like this game and why this game requires such high skill to play. Now you might say, because I think this is happening a little bit with VGC and stuff, you might say actually barriers to entry are bad. We want to create a game with a lower skill entry point. So I think maybe with VGC, with the removal of Z moves, with the restricted decks, with the banning of the top tier Pokemon that they've done recently, you might argue that they are trying to create a more accessible competitive game for fans of the franchise. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. Game Freak, that's fine. But what I would say is that we need to separate ourselves from that. As a community, Smogon, Draft League, whatever, we need to separate ourselves from that mindset, because ultimately, what is our objective as competitive Pokemon players? Can you think of another esport or franchise out there that requires the amount of fan restrictions to be placed on the core game that Pokemon does? We banned evasion boosting moves because they encouraged RNG reliant strategies. We banned Oko moves because they encouraged RNG reliant strategies. They might be very accessible, but they were lower skilled, and so we banned them. We started creating an OU tier where we banned certain Pokemon from being used. I don't know, I don't play Smash, but to my knowledge, I don't think any Smash characters are banned. I think people just use whatever Smash characters they want to use, right? I don't know, and I don't play a lot of other esports, but my outside perspective on other kind of competitive games is that none of them at all rely on the fan-made metagames that Pokemon relies on. So we need to get away from this mindset of like, well, Game Freak have introduced it. Like, I don't think Game Freak know how to balance a singles metagame. I don't think they potentially care, but I don't think they know, because Dynamax sure as shit isn't balanced in singles, right? I think we can all agree on that pretty much. So just because Game Freak have introduced it doesn't mean that hazards were oppressive before, and it doesn't mean that boots have balanced the game. They might have actually unbalanced their own game like they did with Dynamax, right? So we as a community, I think, need to have open and honest dialogues about every single new introduction. If something is meta-defining, which I believe boots are, we need as a community to rally around and have good, productive conversations about whether it's healthy or not for the game that we want to create, because ultimately we do create this Pokemon game, right? We don't play on cartridge very often, we play on Showdown because they don't create a good game, we do. We ban the relevant things, we impose the relevant restrictions to make the game fun, or at least to make the game competitive. So, yeah, I've kind of ranted a little bit here. The video ended up being a bit longer than I wanted to, but all I'm trying to say is go and watch this game, go and look at how hard these two had to think and fight to control the board, to control the game with hazards, and think, actually, maybe this is better. Maybe this requires more patience, more forward planning, more skill, and maybe that's a good thing for our game. Or maybe you're like, actually, I don't really think it does. I think it's just different. And I think that's fine. I think if you think, hazards were oppressive and they were broken and now they've been nerfed, explain why. Comment down below and explain why you think that. If you think, actually, hazards weren't oppressive, but neither are boots, this has just created a different game, but it's equally as good and skillful and competitive, comment that down below. Or if you're like me and you're just having some misgivings and you're not sure, if Smogon asked me tomorrow, if the chieftain of Smogon, I've forgotten what the guy's name that created it is, but if he messaged me tomorrow and he's like, hey Matthew, long-time fan of course, I want you to decide whether we ban boots or not, or at least have a vote in whether we ban boots or not, I would abstain from that vote, because I do not know the answer. I really don't. It's like Brexit all over again. I didn't vote in that because I didn't know the answer. But I don't know the answer here. Like, I won't pretend to. And I'm the first person who refuses to get involved, like, one side or the other when I don't think I know enough. And I don't think I know enough here. But I do think the only way we will know enough is if we all talk about it. If we open up this dialogue, if we open the floor to discussion, and we speak to each other honestly and maturely. I think that's the most we can do, or the least we can do, sorry, for each other. So, yeah, that's it. That's my kind of thoughts on boots. I'm not saying ban boots. I'm not saying unban boots. I'm just saying I think right now I miss the way you used to have to really fight for hazard control in a game. It feels like it's missing a little bit in Gen 8. And I'm seeing a lot of people complain that they find Gen 8 boring. I wonder if that's a part of it. I wonder if that's a little bit of it. But there we go. That's just my 2 cents. Let me know yours down below. Thank you so much for loafing around with me, and I'll catch you again next time.